Hello and welcome to this little video about how to graph things using a best fit line, something that you will be doing multiple times during the course of this lab. One of the things I want to show you that you can do in Excel that's very useful sometimes, although not so much for this particular set of data, because we're actually going to be looking at the relationship between the mass and the volume for isopropanol and water. But if you want to do a particular function in Excel, it's very easy for a set of data. It's very easy. You can click over to a cell where you'd like to do that function. So you could be like, say you wanted to add the mass and the volume together, or calculate the density. Let's just calculate the density. So remember, density is mass divided by volume. So you click over into an empty cell, something that's not being used, and you could put, well, you probably want to put a title. Put density. Always good idea to do units, so you can do it in grams per ml. Alright. Now notice one thing about Excel, it doesn't automatically expand its cell sizes to actually fit in the titles. So I've got these titles cut off here and here. If you want to expand that or need to for some reason, you can actually go up to the column itself and then just double click on the line in between, say, column A and column B. So if you do that, double click, it'll actually expand out. Now one other thing that I did on purpose was, notice this volume data, we got 2.56, 5, 8.86. Notice this 5 does not have the same number of significant figures, right? This would be in the case where you have made a volume measurement, and that meniscus, remember the curvature, the little thing that goes like that, the bottom of that meniscus is right on the line. If you need extra sig figs, if it's right on the line, the actual correct volume would be 5.00 milliliters. Remember, just because we are on a line does not mean we reduce the number of sig figs. In order to show that in Excel, Excel doesn't keep zeros if there aren't any non-zero numbers following it. In order to show that normally, you can actually use these little buttons kind of midway between your thing. You've got to have home selected to see these buttons. So, and just do increase decimal place. If you actually want to just have Excel round stuff a little bit more, you can actually decrease the decimal place on things, but most of the time you don't want to do that. So, but I just wanted to show you where that was. Alright, so looking at the density or calculating density for one of these sets of numbers, so let's do it for the water. Okay, so we would want to say equals the mass, the first thing, and Excel uses forward slash to do division, so forward slash divided by this, and then hit enter. Oh, this is an issue. I've got it. Alright, there we go. There was an issue if you have, actually that's a good thing to point out. If you have any letters in these columns, you'll need to take them off. Now, we could do the same thing, equals this number divided by that number for this, but Excel also does the same thing over and over again, or an analogous thing to analogous cells over and over again really well. All you do is you click on the cell where you want to copy that particular function. So say you want to copy that for the cells beneath this. So this right here, you can actually just click on it, click on this little arrow or this little box in the corner. So you click, you drag down, and now it's copied these two cells as well. Okay, so that's one of the things. The other thing was actually making a graph. So in order to make a graph, we would want to actually click someplace where we want to put that graph. So we could click there. We hit insert and XY scatter plot. Now you can actually select data before you do this. So select this data and put insert XY scatter plot, and it'll actually pre-select data, but you're not sure whether you have the correct column on the x-axis and the correct column on the y-axis. So in order to check that, whenever you have something like this, what you can do is right-click anywhere or most of the places on the XY scatter plot, hit select data, it'll bring up this series information. If you're on a Mac, you actually can do this by doing the double click thing. So, but anyway, so this is the series that we have, series 1. You might want to rename it, and if you want to use that particular series, you can go to edit. If you want to add another series of data, you can do add, which we'll do in a second. So we'll want to edit for right now. We're going to call this water data. Okay? You can call it anything that makes sense, but I'll just call it water data. Just hit this little square in the side. Bam. Now we got water data, water data. It's the same. Okay. Now we want to make sure that the X values are selected correctly. Okay, so if we click on this little box here, it'll show us what values are in the X and those little kind of wavy or dotty lines. Anyway, so you select, it actually has the right thing selected like that. And Y, I'm sure, is right, but we'll check it anyway. Okay, so we do have the right thing selected on X and Y. So we hit OK. Our series is complete, so we're going to hit OK. We're going to want to actually add a best fit trend line. So you can click anywhere on the data points, and then right-click on those data points and hit Add Trend Line. All right. It'll pop up a window. Your Excel might be a little bit different. This thing might be over in the right-hand side. That's okay. It's not that much different. So we want to have this linear trend line. You can actually force it through an intercept. So if you want to do that, you can actually select that and say it goes through the 0 intercept. I'm not going to do that for this particular set of data. But we want the equation for that line and the R-squared value. Remember, the R-squared value tells you essentially how good the equation generated fits the data points that you have. And right now, 0.9993 is good, so apparently I can make up pretty linear numbers. Alright, so that's the first part, but it's titled water data. What if you want to put two data series on the same graph? If you want to do, you could actually right-click on that particular data table, go back to that select data, and we want to add another data series, essentially the isopropanol data. So we'll call it isopropanol data. Alright. We're going to click on the X value, select our X values, click on the Y values, select the Y values. I'm just hitting enter, by the way. You can just hit that, select, and then hit that again, but I was just hitting enter. Alright, and now we have our second set of data. Got to add our trend line. Alright, we want it linear, that's all good. Actually, let's go ahead and force it through the y-intercept, or the 0 or the origin, just for fun. Okay, so we have that, forcing it through the origin. Here is our new equation. Notice it does not have any plus anything term because we're forcing it through the origin. Our R-squared value is a little bit worse. All right, so this graph would be okay to submit, but you would not get full points because it's missing a few things, missing some titles for your axes. So in order to do that, you can click over here on the modern Excel. This Excel's a little old. Modern Excel, there'll actually be some pluses over here where you can click on there and do axis titles. But even if you have the older one, you can do that this way also. So you click on your chart layout. That's the one. And then you want to go to chart title. You want to have probably a title centered on the chart or above the chart. Just decide which one looks better. Actually, I'm going to move this over a little bit. Squish this up just a little bit. There we go. There we go. Alright, now notice I can just click on pretty much anything in here and expand or shrink it. I can move things around like chart title. If I want to move that over so it's centered above the actual graphs. The chart title needs to be fairly descriptive, but very short. Okay. The other thing you want is axis titles. So right next to chart title, again, yours will be over here on the right-hand side, but you'll actually want to do a horizontal axis. You can say volume in milliliters. Okay, so that's the proper notation for units. You put the dimension on the outside, the units on the inside, and then you can do axis title. We want to do a vertical axis. I like the rotated vertical axis like that, which is the default on current Excel. Let me shrink this down so that way we don't have the titles inside the tick marks. Okay, so going to rename this, and this one would be mass in grams. All right, actually, let me keep consistent. So since I got that capitalized, capitalize